Today's video, we're going to talk about is hiring a LSA firm or LSA agency, LSA service, worth it at the end of the day? I'm going to tell you, and when I'm talking about LSA, I'm talking about local search ads, pay per lead from Google or Google guaranteed, listings on Google. I've actually hired an agency before to try to get more results out of LSA, and I'm going to tell you about the experience. With this, just to tell you right up front, most people don't think it's worth it because they don't realize how much they can do to actually affect their calls. And up to now, it's not been really worth it. If you're answering the phone on time, for the most part, you got it handled or covered already. Yes, you can actually check your calls and make sure that you ask for refunds on certain calls, but for the most part, that's something you could easily do yourself or an employee could do. However, on this particular video, I'm going to tell you what else an agency can do. That is, if you hire one of the more advanced agencies that I'm going to tell you about, where they can actually use AI to help you get more out of LSA ads. Yes, really AI. So I'll go through what are the mechanics behind getting more results out of LSA, and then how your agency, when you hire them, how they're going to deploy that. You can't necessarily do this on your own, which is why you use them and the proprietary software that they have. So we all know, to start with, there isn't as much to do or that you can do with LSA to get more leads in terms of actual raw strategy. It's not like PPC where you have millions of different individual things you can do, literally, with PPC in order to get more results, or thousands, we'll just say. And where people, say, hey, this isn't worth it, is they realize they go to an agency that manages your LSA ads. They're charging 15% of your ad spend on it through LSA, whereas if you go to a PPC agency, they're charging you the same kind of 15%. We charge 15% at our PPC agency, or you maybe would just want to pay that 15% to your current PPC agency and have them manage your LSA. But really though, things have gotten so complicated nowadays, you cannot get great results unless you have channel specialists, just SEO people, just PPC people, just LSA people, just Google Maps people. Why? Because each one is so technical and so competitive that if you don't understand and work with it day in and day out, you're not going to be able to for sure beat everybody in your niche. There's only so many people who can afford to get all the leads and do it profitably. The person who does that is going to be the one with the best strategy. So you either have to get with the program or give up. That said, that 15% that I talked about though is worth it. Just through the auditing that firm can do on your behalf of your calls and asking for actual refunds. Because what happens with LSA, if you weren't aware of it already, you got customers who, this happens in some niches more so than others, but you get somebody who finds you in the Google guaranteed spot there, calls you, then when they go to check their order status, they call you again. And then that double bills you for the same person. So you may say, oh, $200 a lead? That's worth it. I know I can be profitable at $200 a lead. They're not profitable at $400 a lead. So if somebody calls you again via that same number, you're screwed now. Whether they write that number down, which most of the time they're just going to go back to Google the same way that they found you before, to find you again. So the LSA firm is going to be able to audit all your calls, and I do mean all your calls, find where there's people that are not new prospects and ask for a refund, because Google allows you to do that, and that gets you a refund, and that alone will get your 15% of ad spend that you're paying them, get your money back on it. If that's all they did just in and itself, yes, the marginal utility, it's not that fantastic all in itself, but there's other benefits that they deliver that will make it worth it. Namely, your response rates. I mentioned at the very start of this video, the number one factor that's going to decide if you get a lot of LSA calls or message leads or a little amount, which has to do with how much you're shown, depends almost exclusively on your reviews, yes, but way more so just on your response rates, if you have a low response rate, that is. So, because what Google's going to tell you is get more reviews, that's going to help you. Until you get a 100% response rate on the leads that you're getting, it's a waste of time to get more reviews. You may say, well, I can't get to every single call or message lead or get to those message leads quick enough to beat my competitors, because on the message leads, by the way, it's about speed of response. How fast can you get back to the user, to the prospect? What I'm telling you here is nowadays the LSA firms, one that I can particularly think of that I know for sure, and I believe there's other firms firms out there doing this, but I don't know for sure. They got software that allows you to have an unfair advantage to snipe the leads, if you will. That is, if they're calling, you can have 100% answering rate. So if you don't answer the phone within the first 20 seconds, you have an AI system that will answer the phone for you. On the message leads front, because how many message leads you get is dependent on how quickly you respond to the lead, you can actually have software auto respond to that message lead, so you're always going to be the fastest one in your niche, and therefore you end up with the most message leads. And if I don't know if you were aware of it already, try it for yourself. Pause this video if you need to. Go ahead and fill out the form on an LSA ad for somebody else, to your competitor. Why not shit on them a little bit here? And see what happens. Lately, Google's been, right after you fill out the form, Google's going to say, would you like to send the same form to 3 other providers in the area? And if you say yes, it'll send it out to those other people so they can make more money, of course, from each lead, so to say. But what it'll do is it'll recommend the people that respond the quickest. Because like with the calls, they're going to make more money with people, or should I say just in general, if they promote people that respond to the leads right away. Because if you don't get a response in a certain reasonable amount of time, that person's going to go somewhere else, and Google's going to not necessarily get as many people to go through the LSA ads anymore. It's just like with PPC. If Google only gave the ad space to the person that has the most money, eventually people would stop clicking on ads, which is why they want to encourage people that do get good click-through rates and good conversion rates to be at the top and afford to be at the top permanently. And the people that don't do that very well, they price out of the system. So how to get more message leads? Just simply by responding quicker, bottom line. And the LSA firm that I know of can automatically within seconds respond to the lead, which will beat everybody in you're competing with in your niche every single time. And like I said, on the calls, it'll make sure you get a 100% answer rate, which when Google's got to decide if they're going to show one guy with a 95% answer rate and one other guy with 100, they're going to show the guy with 100, not just because they can't bill that lead, so to say, but it pisses users off if you don't answer the phone. Less likely for people to click on Google guaranteed listings in the future, which is the more important factor. And so if you want more calls, you got to get a 100% answer rate. The only way to do that for sure is to use software to answer the phone for you if you can't actually answer it. So you literally get a 100% answer rate. And therefore, because your competitors are never going to have a 100% answer rate, it may be 97, you're going to have 100, which means Google's going to promote you out front and center more. You're going to get way more leads. Just by doing what I mentioned, using AI to answer the phone as a backup and to respond to all the message leads within 30 seconds, you're going to get most likely 30% more call messages / form messages. You'll get more of a raise in the overall amount of leads you get for more form heavy niches, because the auto response to the forms and getting recommended right away to everybody who fills out a message lead form, you're going to get way more of them. You're going to get recommended every single time for everybody who fills out a message lead under that area that I mentioned where they're recommending you. It's funny, in some niches, you'll get 90% contact forms, 10% calls. One niche like that is a speaking niche. Now, I know that's not LSA related, but just throwing out an example right up front. Whereas in some other niches, like in water damage restoration, it's 90% calls. The LSA space, in terms of 90% of them being form leads, I want to say like drywall repair would be pretty close to that. But anyway, you get the general gist here. You'll get more of a lift if your niche is one where people like to fill out a form more. As I mentioned at the start of this video, we did a case study on this and used the systems that I told you about through a outside firm that specializes in LSA. And we got 17% more calls in the restoration space by having the answer rate being 100% and taking it from around 92% answer rate all the way up to 100. And then on top of that, on the calls as a whole that were specifically answered, we got 12% more conversion rates. Now, wait, you're saying, wait, hold up. How do you mean you got higher conversion rate? The reason for that is these calls are getting answered by AI. This AI system, by the way, if you want an example, I'll give you a number to call and you could go through this AI system. It sounds just like a human. And cool thing is it actually gets better conversion rates into a booked appointment than a standard call center that's just generally sucks. And if you've hired a call center before, you know what I'm talking about. They're unprofessional, they're totally clueless, they're speaking in a foreign accent so you can't hardly understand them, and it's random, like how it even goes. The cool thing about AI is it can answer the phone exactly the way that you want it every time. And you can split test. Do you want a male versus female, old versus young, sexy voice, non-sexy voice? on and on and on, and you could consistently increase the rate in which the appointment's booked. And then once you got it the best way, it can be done exactly the same way every time, and it's going to be super consistent. And I know how you guys like consistency in your bookings. That's one perfect way, better than almost anything, to get the bookings to be consistent across the board for yourself. Consistently growing the number of bookings, but the bookings you have day to day, because the variable of how the phone's answered, which affects the booking rate a lot, way more than you guys want to admit to, by the way, as well. In my day job at the firm, I listen to these call recordings. Half these employees don't give a shit about your business, and they're answering the phone totally just horrible. If you get in on this AI thing now, you're going to be ahead of the game. 5-10 years, everybody's going to probably be doing this, which is you're going to get higher conversion rates getting an AI bot to answer the phone than even an employee. Now, right now, certainly the employee is going to get a higher book rate. If it's an American employee, assuming you're advertising in America, and able to answer the phone the first time and all that. But if you're talking about some offshore or outsourced place, it's actually going to get a better closing rate, as we found with our own case study here, which wasn't that surprised that we were able to get 12% more bookings per contact, per phone call, than sending them to the call center as a whole. And that was 12%, by the way, when we combined the human answering and the call center, by the way. On the calls where the human answer is a little bit better closing rates from call to the appointment booking. Where the call center, though, was involved, we're talking about considerably better closing rates into an appointment. 40-50%. And in the restoration business is 24 hours a day. So bunch of the calls were getting answered after the normal 9 to 5. Anyway, that gives you a general idea. You can make money multiple ways. You're just going to get more volume of calls, which everybody wants from LSA because the leads are like gold. And you're going to close more if you use the AI system anyway, unless you already have a well-trained person answering the phone. So maybe that won't be you necessarily on that last one, but you're going to get more leads. Like I mentioned, in a space with a lot of message leads, you're going to get a lot more message leads. If most of the leads you get now are message leads versus the call leads. Anyway, so as far as hiring an LSA firm, it's great. The software to use AI to answer the phone, that actually can be bought as a standalone service as well from the agency that I know personally who has this. So if you had to go that way, you could do it. But my advice is, given you're only paying 15% of spend, use their expertise in setting up the prompts and everything, because it's going to be too difficult for you to do that. Just take my word for that. It's like a chatbot. Everybody thinks they can get a chatbot set up. Very few people can set up a chatbot right that's going to be able to get it to work even halfway decently. They'll just get you set up with it easier, better, and so forth. For what you're paying, it pays for itself, so just, outsource it to them basically. But if you did want to use it yourself, you could. If you have any questions about this, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, you absolutely should already, as the information I'm sharing with you on this channel is better than any other information you're going to find on YouTube about specifically making money with online advertising. As all I do all day long is just ad strategy and testing and give you the stuff that works and doesn't work that I find at our agencies spending millions of dollars of advertising spend every month. So with that said, you should subscribe, and if you haven't already, you should also check out my blog. If you like the channel, you're going to love my blog probably even more. Most people do. My blog that I write has specific strategies that you can use to literally copy and paste into your ad accounts and business to get those working for your business right away. So whereas the channel's high-level information, that has specifics, step-by-step advice on what to do to set up campaigns that actually work and strategies that actually work. So you should check that out as well. It's on my site at guaranteedppc.com/blog. If you're looking for somebody now or in the future to just get you the results without doing all the heavy lifting, which most of getting results is just manual work once you know the strategies, and a lot of people don't have time for it. This is exactly what I do for clients at our firm. And we're different than every other firm out there in that we do not charge a fee unless we can get you a certain minimum lift in your profitability of your ads up front, or to a certain minimum mark in general, and which we'll tell you up front what it is. Catch is you got to have something we got to know we can do well with up front before we're going to obviously take you on, and therefore don't take on just any client. But if you want to see if we can work together, I offer a free consultation. If you reach out to me at my firm at guaranteedppc.com, I'd be happy to offer that to you. As a side, final note, if you're not looking to have anybody manage your ads, many people aren't that watch this channel, we have ad templates available. That is, if you want to shortcut your way to success and get there to a super low cost per lead or super high ROI in what you're doing, if we worked in your niche market already, which I've worked in hundreds, literally, of niches in the last 10 years of running this agency, you can copy and paste all the winning ads, landing pages, campaign templates for your niche that we've already figured out to get to a certain cost per lead or ROI, which will tell you what it is up front, show you examples of it working, and then you buy it from us outright and just copy paste it into your account and get the same results we are. Way cheaper, way easier, way better to do that if we've already done all this hard work for you. If you want to see if we worked in your niche before, reach out to me at my firm. I'd be happy to tell you what results we got in your niche if we worked in it before. We got people using these templates to start whole other businesses. If you want to sell leads and have a great passive income business, that's a perfect way to get into another business that is passive. And it's passive because the template's so efficient, it can generate leads at a cost that you can easily mark those leads up. We got many people doing that with their templates already alone. Or if you wanted to get into e-commerce, you could just take our template to sell a known item that our client sells in country A, you want to sell in country B where they will never be. Turnkey results, basically speaking. It's like having a business on training wheels. When you don't know a lot about e-commerce, that's the easiest way to get started that I know of. Anyway, if you're interested in any of those other opportunities, reach out to me at GaryTPPC.com. With that said, I'll wrap everything up with that. Thank you very much for watching.